Hello, and welcome to episode 11 of Snape Chat, Voice of the Snapedom, exploring the world of Snape in art, fic, meta, and more. This is Snapecentric. In this show, we celebrate Severus's birthday, starting with a bit of discussion and fic reading with danpuff and Megs. Then I talk with Groot and Witch, author and illustrator of the amazing story Happy Birthday. It covers 5 of Severus's birthdays, from age 7 to 50, good days and bad. It has wonderful illustrations and is a must-read. Enjoy the show. Okay. Hi, this is Snapecentric. I'm here with danpuff.
Hello.
And Megs.
Hi.
And we're here to celebrate Snape's birthday.
Yay!
Yes.
Another one of his least favorite days.
Oh no. Probably true. That's sad.
Yeah, I know, the poor guy. That's the thing. It's like, hopefully we can make this a little bit, I don't know, a happier birthday than the poor, broken, tragic man. He just can't have anything good, and we're here to give him all the good things that he needs.
That's right.
Man. Mm-hmm.
I, for one, love birthdays. I love any reason to celebrate, and I especially love celebrating, people. So birthdays are like my favorite. So
yeah.
I would annoy the heck out of him. Happy birthday, Severus.
Yes. And of course, to me, I have a couple friends who have birthdays right around Christmas. So of course it's like, oh, you either feel you've been robbed of a birthday because of all the Christmas things going on. So for him to have one so close after the holidays, of course I'm going super angst already, but it's like if he has a terrible holiday and then most likely after that his birthday goes forgotten, and like it's just all encompassing, like a bad time of year for him, right in the height of like winter depression, like all of that.
I was gonna say winter, cold, probably gray, drab time of year.
Yeah. Do we think he spent like holidays or so at school, or did he go home? Like, what do you think? If it was up to him, I don't know.
I don't know that he would want to be at home, at least during, the canon time where it's Spinner's End. I don't know that he would want to go back, especially if we think about Christmas and birthdays with his family, like especially that time of year, not only being in that place, but in that time of year, probably not the best time for him.
Yeah, because I could see it either way. Like, one, going back because of his mom. Like, if it's I have to be there for my mom or has some sort of emotional connection with mom, and then maybe she does little things that to show that she remembers his birthday while he's home and things like that, which could, really sweet. I know. But I'm not sure when they come back. I know that they probably come back to school just before his birthday, I'd imagine. Like they're home for, I think, a couple weeks.
Have, like 2 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. I've looked at whatever lexicon calendars and stuff in the past, but I'd only withhold so much information.
Yeah,
right. You know what though? I don't think he could afford the train fare from King's Cross to Cokeworth. Is that a depressing thought?
Yeah, that's a thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone would have to come to him. So either A, his mom would have to feel comfortable to come pick him up. And then, see, the way that I see it.
Oh, that's true. They could apparate.
The way I see it is up until obviously a certain point, because at some point in his time at Hogwarts, he and Lily have a fallout. I always headcanon the Evanses, like taking them home.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Like once they become friends and start school together, they're aware of his situation and they are kind of like a one positive thing in regards to him, and he probably spends a lot of time there and things like that. But of course, when that's done, I mean, I could see that as him starting his journey of closing off and separating himself emotionally from things. So not wanting to go home regardless of his mom or whatever. And so it's kind of that slippery slope of he's starting his grumpy journey of his new future and whatnot. But I'm curious if he has, because of course we can consider the boys and whoever that he goes to school with, however the circumstance, he's close to some people. So I'm sure that some of them do know that it's his birthday, whether they do something that's actually nice or something a little bit suspect. Like, who knows? But I'd like to imagine even the bad guys have a little bit of, everyone has a little piece of heart there, that I'd hope that they would do something for him, like either in the dorm or common room or something like that, which would be really nice.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah, so I would like to hope that there'd be like little things. I could also see Lily still getting him gifts, like even after them parting ways. I could see her still doing small things, because I just don't see her as somebody who could just completely write him off. Like, obviously she had to be like, you're putting yourself in a toxic environment that I can no longer tolerate because it's affecting me negatively, which is very strong and very, mature of her to make that choice, because unfortunately for him, he doesn't have much of that, ability to change things for himself. So I don't see why she wouldn't still think of him on that day. Like, if you think about it, or even at Christmas or something like that, like it would just.
And then especially if she knows more about his situation and probably knows that he's not going to have a happy birthday, or probably no one else is thinking of it. And I think they were so close for so long, and it's not that it was one-sided. Like, she cared about him too, and they were close, and she probably knew, if not everything he was dealing with, and at least enough of it to have that compassion to just even think about him, even if she can't be there for him the way that she used to.
And even her parents, even if she told them, it's like, oh, we're not friends anymore or whatever, they're not going to write him off either, especially if they have some sort of relationship. Like, I could see them still sending him, gifts at Hogwarts at Christmas, or a birthday gift or things like that. So it's like little things that show him the affection in the darkness of everything that, is happening moving forward, and the people that he's around. Like, I'd like to hope that there were still some people, like nuggets of opportunity to get that little bit of affection and being seen as someone, as like a person versus like a pawn or whatever, once he starts getting in with the Death Eater crowd and stuff like that. But yeah, so I mean, I hope that he gets something, even if he snubs it, kind of like we talked in the holiday episode about how, like, he's, especially as an adult, like when he's grown up and he's a grumpy older guy. That's just the way it is. And he would have a hard time, I think, receiving gifts. And here I go. Okay, so what if the reason why he would hate birthdays, holidays, whatever, is because it reminds him of Lily and her parents and all those little things that they did before she died. So all those years passed, all those little positive things vanished because they don't exist anymore. No one's there to, like, continue that little sense of, whatever. Sorry, I'm making things so angsty and sad.
Thanks. And actually, on that note, I was thinking of mentioning little headcanon type things, because, his friendship with Lily is canon, and we can speculate on that, but more into like fan territory. I do like thinking of him having like a romance during his school years, or even just a friendship with Regulus Black.
Yes, Snegulus.
And if we go into there, like, he still dies. So
yes, I know. Oh my gosh. That's another thing that fits in there, is like, that's another reason why that just adds on to his brokenness, is the fact that his one probably didn't feel like as strong of a love as Lily because of, for whatever level of reason, but I'm sure he did have some sort of emotional connection. Like, who knows if Regulus even told him, what he was doing, or he noticed that something was off with Regulus and all of a sudden he vanishes and, like, no one knows what happened to him. Like, that's terrible. Like, that's awful. Like, he can't catch a break. The poor man. I can't imagine him just being like, what if they lived together and then he just never came home? I mean, I'm sorry. Why is this happening? Okay.
I think even if you don't want to imagine Regulus specifically, like, he probably had friends in the Death Years, maybe not as close as Lily, maybe not quote unquote real friends, but acquaintances, people he maybe got close to, and it's a war he probably lost what people he definitely lost what people he did have. So it could just really just be a whole mess. And with all the trauma he's dealt with in his life, I can just see that being, you know, holidays and birthdays being a special time for family and happiness. And if he did have those good memories with the Evanses, with Regulus, with anyone around him, and then they're gone, and that one good thing is gone, and then that time comes around each year and those people you cared about are gone, and those few bright spots that were in your life are gone. Like,
yeah,
you would rather just not think about it.
Yeah, that is why Harry is his soulmate, so that later in life it heals everything for him and he's happy and has the perfect life, and it's just
100%.
Or Hermione, maybe it's Hermione, it can be anybody, but someone's got to come in and show him how to love.
Like. So obviously I'm a Snarry girl, so that's what I'm saying is.
Yeah.
But ship and let ship, so whoever you like.
Whoever you think is going to be that, or even the like bro TP with McGonagall. If they have that really strong relationship in school, I'm sure she's aware and in tune to what he could need. You know what I mean? So I feel like she would, even if it was literally showing up at his rooms with a bottle of like mead or fire whiskey and just like, okay, we're just gonna get drunk because I know that you're just, you know what I mean? Like if you're gonna feel like shit, at least let's like feel silly and like shit at the same time. So
yes.
Yeah, because I mean, aside from relationship, I mean, like romantic relationships, like friendships are just as important. And I don't, as much as he might have respected Dumbledore, I don't see their relationship being anything other than obligatory. Like, he might care about him to some degree because he has been working with him for so long, and Dumbledore, for the most part, confides in him with some things, and, you know, they have a special thing. But I'd like to think that he and somebody, be that probably McGonagall, just because they're both seen as probably the harsh teachers. Like, you don't want to cross either of them, and he's a little bit more snippy and like makes those snide comments where she just like stares at you, like she just will stare you down, and everyone's just like, oh crap. So I would love to see them, you know, to have that, because I feel like she would take it upon herself either times. Just, it probably comes from when we read, what was it, the Man Who Stole Christmas, and how she really wanted to do Christmas and he kept saying no because of their relationship. And well, up until that point, during normal school times, maybe that was something they did together. So for him to like snub it was all the more devastating for her and devastating for him because it was their time together. So, jeez, can we make something happy? What's a good thing that we could do?
Megs, you're the one making it not happy.
I'm sorry. This is who he is. You cannot get away from angst with Severus Snape. It is impossible.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'm just over here being really depressed.
I'm sorry. Woo.
Oh. Well, there is Lucius and Narcissa.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, I really like, I know a lot of people talk about imagining Severus and Lucius being very close, but I've seen it more recently this year in certain fics where Severus and Narcissa are really close, and I think that is just so cute.
Yeah.
I love the idea of them being really close, and maybe he's just really close with their family, and I don't know, that just makes my heart happy, hoping that he has people in his life currently, be it Minerva or Narcissa and Lucius, just someone.
And it's not canon, but like a strong fanon is that like Snape is Draco's godfather. So it's like obviously he has like that strong presence in that family. So of course when Draco comes to school, like you can feel, you know, you like can tell. You're like, there's favoritism there. Like it's there. So I could feel him. It's gonna make him feel probably significantly better having Draco there. And so probably like 6th year, on top of Dumbledore telling him, or, you know, Narcissa asking him to protect Draco. Like, I mean, he, regardless of what was going on with Dumbledore, I would like to think that he would have done it anyway, just because he cares for Draco. And it's just, that would be, and then Draco snubbing him all year, like, had to have sucked, also, because it's like, hey, you used to confide in me with, anything or any problems or whatever, because he could be Professor Snape during the day, but then whatever, Uncle Seb or whatever, like in the afternoons or whenever Draco needed somebody to unload on. And so I'd hope that he'd have some sort of unseen, unnoticed relationships, even in an environment that he's obviously not ideally happy in. So, but...
okay, so if we're wanting to steer away from the angst and into happy territory, imagine Severus's close friendship with the Malfoys, Draco's godfather. So Draco grows up, celebrating Uncle Seb's birthday, and then he's at school, and like imagine like his birthday comes around and then Draco just like popping into his office being like, happy birthday.
Yeah.
And it's not much, but it's just this moment of his godson just remembering and taking the time out of his day to just pop in and like acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So even if he doesn't come bearing gifts or anything, just that acknowledgement from someone he cares about, like without his parents there to tell him, like Draco just remembering, like, oh, it's Uncle Seb's birthday. Let me go say something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could see like Narcissa probably sending something to, be that either like a letter or a little something too. And yeah, I'd love for him to have a significant relationship with them. I just think that that's just so sweet.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we're not steering to where that could go dark. So
no, I know.
It's a happy birthday.
My mind is.
I am holding back. I can do this.
It's a
unless we want to be
birthday.
Sad. Yeah. Yes.
Angsty birthday, Severus.
Yep. Angsty birthday. Absolutely. Yeah. I'd like to think that maybe, okay, so back when they met, I don't know, like how old were they when Lily and Severus met? 9 or 10? Like it was obviously before school, but...
I think they were 9.
9. So like they were friends for a couple years before, going to school. And I just, I'd like to think that maybe her parents did like a little surprise party, like, oh, invite Severus over. And then, he comes over and he just doesn't know how to handle the fact that someone would make him a cake or give him little things. And, I just think that would be so sweet. That would be so nice. Yeah. So, I mean, I hope that he has those people. We don't see him because he isn't vulnerable with anybody. So he's not going to own up to the fact that anyone gives him influence him in a positive light for the most part. But yeah, I think that especially when you're a child, like to have positive experiences are more meaningful than as adults. So I would like to think, as if the Evanses were as kind as I hope they would be, that they would do something like that for him, and maybe regularly. And that would just be, and sometimes, what is it? I think I've read in fic where even though things happen, like Lily and Severus went their separate ways, she didn't tell her parents that. So like maybe they still did something special for his birthday or, things like that, not knowing. So it was like an opportunity for a day remembering the good times together. So that would be really sweet.
Yes.
Angst adjacent, but also sweet.
Yes. This would be his 62nd birthday.
Yes.
Which is still middle-aged. Particularly if you're a wizard.
Yeah, that's a youngin'.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's just in the prime of enjoying the rest of his life.
Definitely.
Yeah. And like when he lives, because he does, like I want him to like write potions texts. Like that's what he should have been doing that whole time, is like writing even books of spells or whatever. Eventually at Hogwarts, they're going to be using such and such by Severus Snape. Like that just has to be, the way it is, which is, awesome. So
oh my God.
Potential for a little bit of fame he never asked for, but then realized that he actually kind of likes because he never got any attention when he was younger. So to have positive, however, kind of similarly to Harry when he was younger, it's like, oh, I hate the attention. And And then all of a sudden Snape's like, you know what? It's not so bad when there's no one else to like give you, that sort of attention, regardless of what it means. And yeah. And then there's also Snockhart getting a little cracky. Like if they were together, what if he's traveling and doing things with his boyfriend, who's also a published writer, if say the memory thing didn't happen or whatnot. And what if they're writer couple and they just go around and it's just, I don't know. That was random, not birthday related, but hey.
You know what's cute? You know what's cute is if Severus is writing like all of these like intellectual academic texts and Lockhart's writing things like romance novels.
Yes.
Like fiction.
Yes.
That would be cute.
Oh, goodness. And of course, now I'm picturing him changing names, but obviously using their relationship as inspiration, and Severus just being so mortified and angry about it. But also, like, I see him enjoying, like, he's living his best life, and I don't want to shatter his dreams, but also, oh my gosh, like, what? Like, I can't.
The bodice rippers.
Yes. But, so obviously Lockhart would throw some sort of huge party because he's extra. So he would definitely have some sort of inviting people that Severus never met before to do this big whole thing that he would just hate / actually not hate, sort of thing. So yeah, there's so much possibility as far as him and, future relationships. I think that's the biggest thing is he does need others to help him enjoy something. Like he doesn't know how to do it for himself. So it's like, it's something he has to learn that he didn't get to learn for very long. So later in life, could totally have those sort of things, especially when he lives and everyone knows he's a hero and all these things. And and Snape and Harry are together and they're living their hero lives. And so I think post-war, live it like Snape lives, there's a lot of potential for him to have the happiness and all those meaningful things that he deserved to have before, but it wasn't his life to live during that time. So, yeah.
Yeah, to finally not be beholden to anyone would be so wonderful. In addition, to having someone teach him how to have joy.
Do we want to read some fic now?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. We have some fics to read, and then we'll talk about them, starting with Megs.
Yay! Okay, so very interesting title. It's Happy Birthday, Sev. By me, Dreary Quite Contrary, GreenMegsNoHam. It's rated, what is it, like teen and up, and I'm not sure. As far as I think it might be on the, edge of like underage. I think Harry's 16, but depending on who you are and whatever, like it's rated T, but nothing. It's still teacher-student relationship, which, I love. So that's which is great. Yeah, we're here for it. All right. So the summary is, let me see if there's any taggies. No, that was it. Just teacher-student relationships, probably the only one. Summary. Harry's Christmas gift had engraved him. I don't even know what I spelled wrong. Christmas. What is that? What did I mean to say in this summary? Well, this is embarrassing. What the hell was I don't even know what I was saying. How could a birthday gift result in anything else? Enraged him. Had enraged him? Maybe. Anyway, I don't know. Harry's Christmas gift. I don't know. Okay, there's a summary and it makes no sense. So I'm going to move on.
There is a summary.
I will obviously take a moment and go back and rewrite it later at a later time. Someone was at the door. Severus let out a huff of annoyance, clambering from his chair, slamming his book on the table. Albus, he bellowed, cut short at the sight of the internally disheveled, raven-haired boy. Robes discarded, he wore his school tie loose, his shirt untucked. Merlin, help me. Barely a week into term after the Christmas holidays, and Potter must seek him out, in his private quarters no less. Severus wished he could have found it as a shock, but he knew better. Potter wasn't easily sent away, like an insistent gnat circling one's head, buzzing in your ear. Annoying, persistent. Had anything he ever said, yelled, or even screamed deterred him in the least? "Hello, sir." Harry stepped forward in request to enter. He would never ask, knowing full well Severus would say no. Severus did not budge. Harry stood there, refusing to meet Severus's stern gaze, nervously raking his fingers into his messy hair. This did pique Severus's interest. The boy, consistently cocky and excruciatingly bold, now apprehensive. He bit back a smile. Severus's words must have sunk in, thank Merlin. He hadn't been kind. It was unavoidable. The months of ignoring the boy did not deter him in the least. It only seemed to encourage Harry further toward cracking Severus's emotional wards. The day before the Christmas holidays, however, Harry had finally succeeded. There had been a crack, one Severus had blatantly ignored. One he did not know existed until that very moment, the moment that changed everything. He'd been grading exams in his office, minding his own damn business. Idiotic of him to have left his office door unlocked. Harry stormed in like a whirlwind, barely a moment for Severus to react. Then Harry was at his side, panting. He grabbed Severus's wrist, and he dropped his quill. "Merry Christmas, Professor," he whispered across the skin of his wrist, bringing it slowly up to his mouth, kissing it gently. Severus froze in shock. He felt the walls shatter, leaving him bare. Harry had taken his silence for acknowledgement, encouragement to continue. As soon as Harry lifted a hand towards Severus's cheek, Severus grasped his wrist firmly in his free hand, yanking his wrist from the boy's grip. His fury had enveloped him whole as he shouted at the boy. It wasn't Harry's fault, he knew it. It was his own irrational internal loathing and anger that spilled from his lips, not for Harry, but for himself. Hateful, shameful words. So cruel. He'd taken it too far. Anything to put a stop to the madness boiling inside him when Harry was near. Apparently, it hadn't been enough. Here they were, 2 weeks later, Harry standing before him like it never happened. Severus grasped the door firmly, taking slow, deep breaths. Hear him out, then send him off. "What is it, Potter?" he sneered. Harry lifted his gaze, catching his eye before turning away again. "Have a nice Christmas." Severus gave him a pointed stare. "Sensational." Another year, another night reading in his study, ignoring Albus's insistent fire calls to drag him to the Christmas Eve feast. Socializing in intimate proximity to other teachers and an unfortunate collection of snotty-nosed brats? Absolutely not. He'd been one of those snotty-nosed brats. He'd chosen it, of course. An empty common room, vacant library, and a, however limited, reprieve from the incessant annoyance of a select group of arrogant Gryffindors. Harry stepped around him and into his drawing room. Severus grasped the boy's arm, intending to cast him out once more. Then Harry looked at Severus with eyes he never wanted to see again. Eyes that looked up at him as if he was truly seen. "I wish I'd stayed this year." Almost a whisper. Severus released him quickly, turning to shut the door. Anything to avoid those eyes. Severus would pool at Harry's feet. "I'm sure surrounding yourself with an adoring family was excruciating," he scoffed, turning away from Harry to return to his chair. He picked up his book, determined to avoid as much interaction with the boy as possible. Casting the boy a quick glance, Severus instantly regretted it. Harry's expression shifted into the determined smirk Severus knew so well. "You didn't like my Christmas gift." Liked it? No, he had not liked it, the ghost of that kiss still burning his skin, unseen yet more unbearable than the dark mark. He had loved it, which was exactly why Harry should not be here, never be here. "I thought of something better for your birthday." "How did you—" Harry loosened his tie further, removing it from his neck. Severus swallowed hard. "Potter, cease this nonsense. Leave here now." "No thanks," he said, rolling up his sleeves. Severus let out a deep breath of relief. It was premature. Harry walked up to him, placing a hand on his book, prying it from his fingers. He set the book on the end table as he leaned over Severus. "I'm warning you, Potter. Come any closer and I will curse you to next Christmas." Harry just laughed. "You won't, though." He wouldn't. Not Potter. Never Potter. He was insane. Why couldn't he move? He should be pushing the boy away, shoving his ass out the door. But he didn't. The wall had turned to rubble. With one kiss, the rubble vanished completely. His kiss was chaste and soft, though Severus could feel the desire coursing through the boy's veins, eager to take things further, but afraid of Severus's reaction. because he always reacted so well. Harry broke the kiss, searching Severus's face before slowly climbing into the man's lap. Severus did not resist. In fact, he pulled Harry to him. He wasn't sure what drove him to do it, but Merlin, the feel of him. Harry smiled against his lips before pulling away, cold air tickling Severus's wet lips at the loss of warmth. Happy birthday, Sev. Happy birthday indeed. The best gift he had ever received. The end.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
I like how it had the whole Christmas bits too, like talking about how close they are together, and he knows it's his birthday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always love Harry being a nuisance.
Bold Harry, Snape just freezing. Like, it's either
Yeah.
freak out or
Like,
say
oh, no.
nothing. Freaking out isn't doing anything, so whatever. But
can't resist in the end.
Yeah, I'd like to think Harry was okay. If I just look absolutely ridiculous, just I'll untuck my shirt, I'll loosen my tie, and I'll just show up in front of his door. It's like, he's not gonna be able to send me away. Oh man. So yeah.
Good plan.
Yep, exactly. I'm like, oh, there you go, Harry.
Hey, you both have read a lot of Snarry, correct?
Yes.
Does Sev ever take the lead?
Yeah, but it's definitely less common.
Yeah, not often.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
normally Severus denying feelings. Like, it's always denial of feelings. So it's like, it might be him finally realizing and accepting them and then surprising Harry when he might do something, but it never is like him pursuing Harry.
Yeah, it's a lot of denial and then also like insecurity where even if he acknowledges those feelings, it's very, oh, well, he would never return them kind of thing.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Severus leading, it's less affection and more like his anger toward James and things like that, that it's like he's going for Harry, like in not a, affectionate sort of way. Like, so it's just, that's a different sort of, obviously, relationship and fic or whatever. But when it comes to it being more meaningful and romantic and things like that, it's like Harry has to convince him that Harry isn't his father and, has some of his mother, and that he's someone that could be right for him. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of that denial, self-deprecation, like I'm not worthy, of anything, especially from the boy who's loved by everybody. Like, why would he look at me, the like old ugly teacher? You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty much how it is when Snary's concerned.
Okay. Huh. Well, this was nice. And yes.
Moving on to Snoopin', right?
Snoopin'.
I'm excited. I'm new to Snoopin', and I didn't think that I would like Snoopin', and I do like Snoopin', but I realized I like Severus with everybody, so that's just kind of
equal opportunity shipper.
Exactly.
As long as he's happy.
Yeah. Biggest thing.
Okay. This is Faint Silver Lining of My Life by Maya Chain. It's rated G, and the summary is: 3 times Severus woke up to something good on his birthday.
Aww.
Yeah. So January 9th, 1978. There's a small parcel at the side of his bed when he woke up. Severus knew without sitting up to look closely at it that it was from Lily. It was her favorite wrapping paper, the one with the cauldrons, her red-green signature ribbon. It could be left over from Christmas. Come on. Her neat wand work had gotten the edges just right. Lily, who remembered what day it was today and had thought to get him something, even though she hadn't spoken to him in what felt like a year. He'd been convinced till just this moment that she hated him. Dolhoff stirred in the bed next to him. Despite himself, Severus' hands were itching to rip the paper off right away, but he knew it was more prudent to employ a concealment charm for now. This way, at least, he'd have something to look forward to on the first birthday with no word from his mom. Breakfast brought with it unwanted congratulations from Professor Dumbledore, but also further good news. Lucius had sent him a letter that read, "Now that your time at Hogwarts is coming to an end and you've spent a year proving yourself as an adult, it is felt in certain circles that Easter would be an opportune time for your introduction. As alas, it is not possible for you to leave school grounds today. All through History of Magic, he drafted and rewrote his reply. A meeting, finally. It was a great honor he'd been hoping to merit for months, but his mind kept drifting back to where Lily's presence lay concealed. Throughout lunch, Lupin of all people was the only Gryffindor looking at the Slytherin table. The blasted werewolf was looking between Severus and Lily, while Potter, Black, and Pettigrew were hogging all her attention. Such life on her face. Had the gift even really come from her at all? That evening, he made his way to the owlery with the present stuffed into his pocket. Real or mockery, he was best served to be in a private place when opening it. The second his affirmation to Lucius took off the ground, the tiny parcel let out a heart-piercing wail and vanished in a puff of smoke. It took a hand stuffed in his mouth and 30 deep breaths through his nose, but Severus managed not to cry. January 9th, 1997. He didn't know how, but the owl found its way to the dungeon. Severus padded over the cold floor on bare feet and picked out the near-fresh brain of a mouse from his private potions ingredients. It hooted appreciatively and stood still as Severus wandlessly unscrapped the shipment from its claws. I need those for him, he said when it picked the treat out of his fingers, and then eyed the closed cupboard. They all didn't seem to care one bit about the needs of wizards. No, he said sharply, but it merely cocked its head as if to question how much he valued his fingers. There are no students to see me, he thought. With a sigh, he selected a few, in the eyes of the owl, he presumed, delicious-looking tails. There, now away with you. With a look of derision, he could never hope to come close to himself, regardless of how hard he tried. It spread his wings and took off. There was no note accompanying the jar of marmalade. None was necessary. There would be nettles in it, Severus knew, as well as tamped striped maple bark and a single minced leaf of a devil's snare, and possibly even the tiniest trace of peppermint. He had been so very skeptical the first time he'd had it on scones. Narcissa had always been embarrassed by all the time her mother-in-law spent in her garden. Draco had been unable to hide his devastation, but Lucius had only given a tiny shake of disgust when she had gotten herself killed by her favorite plant. Severus had always loved the nuances the old woman could bring out of oranges. It had been his secret highlight during visits to Malfoy Manor. Of course, Narcissa had noticed. The 2 ounces were gratitude for the vow he'd made, a thoughtful one that Severus would savor. They were also a reminder. January 9th, 2003. There was somebody in his bed. Severus fought the instinct to go rigid. It wouldn't do to alert whoever had invaded his space that he was awake. If he was about to be attacked, all his words had failed, and it was already too late to reach for his wand. He batted hard against the cobwebs of a dream clinging to his mind. Nobody ought to be out to get him in his sleep. The war, both wars, had been over for some time, hadn't they? There were 2 somebodies in his bed, Severus concluded after he'd had some time to breathe and listen. One of them was Remus, which was all well and good. That was as it had been yesterday morning, and as it would hopefully be for a good many mornings to come. It was the other presence that the intruder shifted. A small hand was flung in Severus's face. Oh, carefully he lifted himself up from the mattress and prodded Teddy's arm to a less dangerous location. The boy and the grown man were both dead to the world. A glance at the window revealed that it was at least an hour yet till dawn. Far too early to begin thinking about breakfast. Severus lay back down and closed his eyes. He was too awake now to resume the dream he'd had. Some nonsense about a lake and a broom, but reality was more pleasant in any case. There was no war. There were no classes that he had to teach. Their guests were not expected before the afternoon. Unless he had tried too hard, he might be able to drift in and out of sleep to the soft snores of his werewolf and his son. The end. So
Cute.
Oh man. I love how that last day was written, because of course it's like him coming out of that fight or flight, like of him just immediately waking up and being like, someone's here. Like, I'm sure he could be that way every day if you think about it. Regardless, it could have been the first day or 20 years from now. Like, I could see him waking up and it just being that instantaneous, just being surprised that someone was there. And then for Teddy to be there with them for whatever reason is just like, oh, that's so cute. That of course he would come and climb into bed with them, and Oh, that just warms my heart so much.
That's sweet. In 2003, he'd be 1989, 2005 or almost 5.
Oh, yes.
Little boy crawling
Yeah.
into bed. Aww.
So cute.
And I like,
Yeah.
what was it? Just how like reality was better than a dream anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mhm.
cute.
Yeah. I really liked the second one as well.
Mhm.
Just the description of the marmalade and all the different ingredients and the obligation that it signified as well. Good story.
Yeah. And highlighting different relationships was also cute, like a reminder of his and Lily's friendship, and then
Right.
and with the Malfoys, and then
Mhm.
ending with his happily ever after the war. Very good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Next is, I believe, a full English by Ms. Adams.
Okay, so we have a full English by Ms. Adams, and it's rated mature, and this is a Hermione/Severus, and it's an established relationship. The summary is, there on the counter was a small white box with a red ribbon with a bow wrapped around it. Dressed in only his sleep trousers, Severus closed his eyes and sighed. Ignoring the package, he filled the electric kettle and put it back on its stand and flipped down the switch to start the water boiling. Oh, and then it just says, I guess as like a kind of warning, there is no actual smut in this piece, but the possibility is discussed. There on the counter was a small white box with a red ribbon tied with a bow wrapped around it. Dressed only in his sleep trousers, Severus closed his eyes and sighed. Ignoring the package, he filled the electric kettle and put it back on its stand and flipped down the switch to start the water boiling. He turned his back to the kitchen counter and moved to the refrigerator to pull out the milk, some eggs, sausages, and a brown paper bag. He placed everything back on the counter and moved towards the cooker when a soft step in the doorway drew his attention. Hermione stood there wearing one of his large green jumpers and very little else. She rubbed one eye sleepily and shifted her weight on one of her bare feet. "Severus, what are you doing? I was going to make you breakfast today," she mumbled and pulled her hand from her face. The cuff of the sleeve fell down over her hand. "Go back to bed, witch." Go back to bed, witch. I'll bring you some food when I've finished making it. Severus nodded toward the bedroom. The kettle reached its boil and switched off. "No, Severus, it's your birthday. Let me treat you. Go back to bed and relax." She purposefully walked toward the kettle and pulled out 2 mugs from the shelf above it. "Oh, what's this?" she asked, picking up the white box. "Don't play coy with me. You know very well what it is, Hermione." Severus growled and turned the gas on the hob. "I very well don't, Severus," she said, and turned and put her hands on her hips. Severus ignored her and put a half-dozen sausages into the pan. He pulled a wooden spoon from the jar beside the hob and moved the sausages a little in the pan. Hermione huffed and returned to making the tea. She went to the fridge and bent down to get the milk, and Severus turned and looked over his shoulder. There was a flash of scarlet satin under the hem of the shirt that had a ribbon up over the curve of her buttocks. "Quite a display there, little Miss Innocent," Severus snapped and looked back at the sausages in the pan. Hermione twisted her mouth in a frown and walked back to the counter. She poured the milk into 1 cup and added sugar to both. She then returned the milk to the fridge, though this time she squatted down instead of bending from the waist. When she returned to the counter, she placed the cup with the milk and sugar beside the hob, then jumped up and sat on the counter. She held her cup in 2 hands and breathed in the steam. "So why are you in such a mood, Severus?" Hermione asked. Severus's shoulders tightened, and he pushed the sausages a little harder in the pan. "I'm not in a mood." "Yes, you are, dear." Hermione sipped her tea. Severus sighed, put his spoon down, and picked up his tea. He took a long swallow and then reached over Hermione to lift the white box. "I told you no presents." He put the box into her lap and glared at her. "I made it an explicit order which—" "One which I obeyed, sir," Hermione said levelly. "I didn't even buy new knickers for you. I'm wearing the pair I got last year." She put down her mug and held up the box. "I have no clue what this is or where it came from." "I find that unlikely." Severus returned to the sausages and grumbled. "Bollocks, they split." Hermione giggled and turned the box round in her hand. "There's a tag on the box, Severus. Shall I read it to you?" "Fine, whatever." he said as he moved the pan off the heat and opened up the paper bag. He pulled a handful of mushrooms out of it and diced them up. It says, "Happy birthday, Professor. Love the Potter family. Hermione, this is more for you than him. Ginny must have written this. The handwriting is so tiny." She squinted at the side of the box. She then put the box down. "See, it wasn't me. I was just planning on bringing you breakfast in bed and then giving you a lazy blowjob after you ate. Then I was going to do the washing while I left you with a book. But you got up before me and changed the plans." Severus snorted, cut a tomato in half, and then put the frying pan back on the gas. He added the mushrooms and the tomatoes to the pan and cracked 4 eggs into it. "It still amazes me that you can do a full English in that single pan. I usually have to use 2 and grill the sausages in the oven." Hermione crossed her legs at the ankle and swung them a little. "Which is why I'm making breakfast today. I didn't want to waste my day washing dishes." "I was going to do them," Hermione protested. "That's right, after the proposed lazy blowjob." "Exactly." Severus plated the 2 portions of breakfast and placed them on the kitchen table. He put his tea down beside one of the plates and moved in front of Hermione, who was still looking at the white box in her hands. "Open it," he said. Hermione obeyed and pulled the red ribbon off the box. She smiled at the ribbon and quickly threaded it through her hair, using it to pull her curls away from her face. She tightened the bow and picked up the box again. Severus tilted his head a little at her antics, but waited for her to open the white box. She found the lip of the box and pried it open and looked down. "It's a mug," she said, and held out the box to him. "Why did the Potters get me a mug?" "I have no idea. I told them you wanted nothing for your birthday." She lifted the box gently, showing that he should take the mug out of the box. Severus dutifully lifted the black mug out of the box and turned it in his hands to read the text written on it. "Kiss the potions, master." "Don't mind if I do," Hermione said, and pulled him forward. She draped her arms over his bare shoulders and pulled him closer with her legs so she could comfortably cross her ankles and rest them on the top of his waist. She tilted her head a little and whispered, "Happy birthday, Potions Master." Severus closed his eyes and met her lips with a soft, sweet kiss. He put the mug down behind Hermione and lifted her off the counter. His hands gripped her through the satin of her knickers, and he carried her over to the kitchen table. He broke the kiss and lowered her to the floor. "Eat your breakfast, witch, and be quick about it. You promised me a lazy blowjob." Hermione bounced a little on her bare feet. "Yes, sir." She gave a little twirl and sat down in her seat. Severus fetched her tea and placed it beside her plate. He placed the new mug beside his own space and poured the tea from the older mug into his new gift before sitting down to eat his own breakfast. The end.
Cute.
Yeah.
I love that mug.
I know.
Mhm.
Kiss the potions master.
Like kiss the chef, but kiss the
Yeah.
potions master.
Yeah, that's so cute. Actually, it would be now. I think he needs an apron. Like that would be super
Yes.
cute. He's kiss
Oh,
the
yes.
potions master because
Imagine
of course
him wearing that while
brewing and
brewing.
cooking, it's all related.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like how he
Yeah.
uses the new mug too.
hmm
Goes out of his way to pour his tea into the new mug.
And I could just see Hermione sitting there smirking into her tea, being like, "I see you. You're actually really happy you got a gift." That's
Mhm.
so sweet. A nice little slice of life post-war. Happy Severus. That's exactly what we want.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, so danpuff, you have a story for us?
Yay.
Yes. It's
Yes.
as of recording, it's not posted yet. I'm going to actually post it on his actual birthday. So
Fun.
yeah, it's part of a series I have called Domestic Fluff Snary Style. I have one that's their anniversary, which is 16 July 2020. And I have one for Harry's birthday, which is 31 July 2020. And now this one is 9 January 2022 by me, danpuff, and it's rated T. In their early years together, the time Severus took unwrapping Christmas and birthday gifts drove Harry spare. Gift paper is meant to be torn to shreds and tossed aside, not carefully pried away, then folded neatly. Harry had also been eager and terrified to see Severus's reaction to his gifts. Over their many years together, Harry has learned several important things. The first is to appreciate the care Severus takes. Severus does have nice hands after all. They move with such grace and precision, even when pulling apart paper, and he holds each treasure with both confidence and care. The second is that Severus cares more about cards than objects. He spends entirely too long reading them, or so Harry once thought. Now he eagerly watches Severus roll his eyes at his birthday card from Draco and Ron, snort at the one from Narcissa, hum thoughtfully at the one from Hermione and Ginny. His face is carefully neutral at the ones from Molly and Hagrid, so Harry assumes they're very good. Harry receives an unimpressed look in response to his own card. Harry grins. There was a time when Severus mocked these cards, and Harry nearly hexed his eyebrows off. Sure, his drawing skills are little better than his poetry skills, but he tried. Harry resolved to stop making them until he found the stash of cards hidden in Severus's bedside drawer. Being in love with Severus has never been easy, but it's always been worthwhile for Harry to stick around to figure him out. Money is not important to Severus, nor are things. They may have been once, but in his life, Severus has learned to value time and thought, which is the third thing Harry learned. The effort he puts into his card, however awful it might be, matters more than galleons spent. Not to mention the fourth thing being that Severus is very hard to shop for. What material goods he does desire, he purchases for himself, and anything of utmost interest to Severus is usually beyond Harry's scope of interest or knowledge. How is he meant to know what potions equipment is best, or what books Severus might like, but doesn't know exist? Blind luck saves him some years, but others, well, other years he has his shoddily crafted cards to save the day. Harry doesn't take it personally when the Ballet Castle Bats t-shirt earns him a lifted brow. It's an ongoing joke that if Severus did care for Quidditch, the Bats would be his team, and he has accrued a great number of Bats merchandise over the years for this reason. Harry secretly thinks he does root for them now, even if he hadn't 20 years ago. The second gift from Harry earns a confused frown, and Harry can't help but sink down in his chair as his face and neck heat. Severus turns the bundle of cloth over in his hands. A scarf, Harry mumbles an explanation as two smaller objects fall to the floor. More socks? Severus asks when he scoops them up. Early January is mightily cold, and on Severus's slender feet are the misshapen green socks Harry knitted him for Christmas. Harry sighs heavily and rubs his face. Mittens. Ah, says Severus, and his mouth twitches. They're not even the same shade of green, Harry now notices. Molly tried to point this out to him while teaching him to knit, but Harry hadn't thought it mattered. Green is green, only now that he sees them all together, the jade green beside the emerald green, he still isn't sure which is which, mind, but at least he can tell them apart now. Do I at least get points for effort? Harry asks. Severus takes great pleasure and amusement in telling him no. The fifth thing Harry learned, and this was a tricky one, was the art of frivolity. Severus will never admit to liking childish things, and Harry could admit he only employed them in the early years to tease Severus. Now, when Harry inflates two balloons, one gold star, one silver crescent moon, and ties them to Severus's chair, he knows that Severus enjoys the attention, even if he rolls his eyes. It isn't as if Harry or Severus had balloons growing up. Once the balloons are in place, Harry leans in to kiss Severus's cheek, only for Severus to turn at the last second to capture his lips instead. Harry makes a startled but pleased sound in response, and, well, it's Severus. Severus, still warm and soft with sleep, bundled up in many thick layers. Severus, whose lips are so familiar and beloved, and however often Harry tastes them will never be enough. Harry slips into Severus's lap without further thought. I would like my cake sometime today, Severus teases between kisses. Harry replies distractedly as he tugs at Severus's jumper. The sixth thing Harry learned was the importance of tradition. Sex before cake, somehow, became a tradition. When Harry was younger and their relationship newer, it made sense. But the spark never died, and now, though sex is never a scheduled portion of their festivities, it always seems to happen. Not that Harry complains. He whistles quite happily as he shuffles into the kitchen. He loads up a tray with the spice cake he baked early that morning, as well as a cup of black coffee for Severus and milky tea for himself. He brings it all back to the dining room where Severus has righted his clothes, but not his mussed silver hair. Harry sets the tray down and reaches out to run his fingers through the soft strands. It was his fingers, after all, that created the mess, and it's only right that he fix it. Catching that his hair must have been wild, Severus narrows his eyes at Harry and bats his hand away, then combs his own fingers through his hair. They have more traditions than sex, so Harry sits down and sets about finishing the cake. Harry grins at Severus and holds up a pack of glittery pink candles he's chosen. Severus huffs but says nothing as Harry loads the cake down with 62 pink candles. Then, one by one, he lights them, just as Eileen did for Severus when he was a child, just as Severus has done for Severus every year they've been together. Severus does the same for Harry's birthdays, but Harry is much less meticulous in his lighting of the candles. He lights each as quickly as possible, then sweeps back through to catch those he's missed. He times himself mentally and raises his arms in victory when he is done. Yes, good boy, excellent work, Severus says. Shut it and make a wish, Harry retorts. Blowing out 62 candles is no feat, so Harry leans in to help finish the job. Harry tries for a kiss after, only to be offered Severus's cheek instead. Harry laughs, but agreeably kisses his husband's cheek. Severus smirks as he settles back in his chair. What did you wish for? Harry asks. Peace and quiet, Severus grumbles. Oh, that's too bad, Harry grins. Now that you've told me, it won't come true. Severus's eyes flutter heavenward, and Harry bites back another laugh. Oh no, Severus remarks dryly. Whatever shall I do? Learn to enjoy the chaos. I fear I am an optimist, dear heart. It is a familiar exchange, words they've parried before over the years, and they fit like a well-worn glove. Harry settles in contentedly and helps Severus remove the candles from his, now holy, cake. Then he cuts the first slice for Severus while Severus sips his coffee. Shiny black wrapping paper sits neatly folded on the table. Gold and silver balloons bob over Severus's head. A stack of sparkly pink candles. Warm, moist spice cake. A cold, snowy day. Silliness and tradition. And love. A warm glow in Severus's dark eyes. Even as Severus mocks the cake and the mittens and the childish decorations, Harry listens to his eyes, not his words, and he smiles. The seventh thing Harry learned is that, above all, Severus wants time and love more than cake and gifts. Severus's real present is, as it is every year, a day trip to London for food and theater and exploration. Before they leave, Severus carefully tucks away his cards. He dons his Ballet Castle Bats t-shirt when he thinks Harry isn't looking, with his newest Weasley sweater over top and a black woolen coat from Hermione. His misshapen socks are hidden by his black boots and the misshapen scarf by his coat, but nothing hides the mittens except for his pockets. As they head out, Harry opens the door for Severus, who scowls at him, and Harry laughs merrily and loops his arm through Severus's after he locks the door. They trek through the snow towards the anti-apparition wards, and Harry looks down at Severus's hidden hands. Are you going to use your hands at all today? Unlikely. I worked very hard on those mittens, I'll have you know. They bicker all the way past the gate and continue, even as they apparate, arm in arm, to London. The end.
Oh,
It's very nice.
Thanks.
I like how he's still his irascible self.
Yes. He must always be that.
and of course, the most important thing to him would be would be quality time. I mean, that's what he needs. He never really got that, and so that's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think after all his time and all of his experiences, even if, he once upon a time might have wished for other things, he's come to learn and appreciate what really matters. And it's the time spent with the people he loves.
And when Severus saving his birthday cards.
Yeah.
This little sentimental streak that he hides.
Yes, he hides it well, but not well enough for Harry.
Oh no.
Yes.
I just love the idea of Harry putting in that effort to drawing his cards and writing him little poems and being made fun of because Severus can't react well, especially to things that really matter.
One of my favorite things has to be all the Bats merch.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I was trying to hold back. I was like, oh my gosh. That's just, I can picture the stuff everywhere and the snickering from Harry's point of view and the grimace from Severus. And it's eventually we're pretty sure he is all about the Bats now.
Yeah. After all this time, they've warmed up on him.
Oh yeah, no, it's so
And
cute.
I've looked into I read the Quidditch Through the Ages book, and I think they're the team that their uniform is black and they have a red bat on them, and I'm oh well, they would get him that because it's black, but then it also happens to be the bats, which is just extra funny.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. Love.
Okay.
That was very sweet. I loved it. And I love your side ships. Like every time I hear like Hermione and Ginny, or like, I mean, I'm just like, oh, then it's Draco and Ron. I'm like, absolutely. Like, of course. Like,
I'm glad. I do love sneaking in the extra ships when I can.
Yeah, it's so nice just to show that it's like, even though things were going some sort of way, everyone's happy with who they were meant to be with, and it's different. Very sweet. Well, lots of lovely, I mean, pretty much, I'd say, positive birthday experiences for him all around.
As it
so
should.
There we go. I think we crossed out all my angst from earlier.
We have redeemed the angst.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Redemption. Yes, there we go. Yay.
Yeah. He just needs, a series of healing experiences.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I don't know if we should talk about the Happy Birthday fic by Groot and My Witch. Did you have a chance to look at those at all?
I did not, because I didn't know if it was being read or...
Yeah, I hadn't looked at it yet.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I had not looked at it.
It's in 5 chapters and various ages between 7 and 50.
Oh, that's
The
nice.
significant points in his development. It's very well illustrated, of course, with My Witch. It's just, wonderful stories.
Oh gosh,
So,
the picture of Lily doing his makeup is everything to me
yes.
in the second chapter. Oh my gosh, 13. Okay, so it looks like they're all like labeled his age. Nice. Cool. So we see 7, 13, 22, 38, and 50. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love this. I will definitely be reading this.
There's heartwarming things, there's angsty things, I would encourage everyone to look it up and read it. We'll have a link on our website, as we will for all these fics that we've read. So.
Oh my gosh, he's holding Draco. I'm losing my mind. These illustrations are amazing. Oh my gosh, baby Draco. Oh, this is just warming my heart.
That's cute.
So great. I'm excited to read it.
Yeah. Well, we talked about presents for Snape for Christmas, so I guess we could say birthday wishes.
Oh, birthday wishes. Kind of like, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand to possibly like when you create that New Year's resolution, like kind of that positive outlook on what could be to come in the next year. So I feel like that kind of appropriately blends into the thought of, like birthday wishes. And maybe it's something that he doesn't really he's not consciously aware of, that either like goes to bed thinking about, even though if he doesn't get something physical as far as a gift, there's still things that his heart like yearns for, which is nice. So
I like that. And like in my story, like I said, where he made his wish and he said peace and quiet, he was just obviously making a joke, but he was like, he's content and happy in that life. So he didn't need to make a wish at all. So I think if he was ever in a place where he had that joy and contentment, he would be good.
Yeah.
Those are things he's never had much of in life. So I think that would be all he would want. And then once he had that, I don't think he would want for anything else because he's so aware.
Yeah, I can see like year after year could be like, I wish things were different. I wish things were different. I wish things were different. And then all of a sudden things are different. And then it's, it's just, then it could probably transition to, I never want this to end. I don't want, to just like it being very volatile and him being still insecure, even though everyone else is like perfectly secure in that, and him eventually reaching the point that I no longer need to make a wish, because I have everything I want. And that's just wonderful.
I'd like to see him able to heal his past traumas. And yes, a good life will do that.
I'm just going to imagine he and Harry go to London and he has really good food and they see a really good play and they just have so much fun and he's just genuinely happy.
Yes.
That's all I want for him.
So, all right. Well, I guess we have a show.
Yeah.
And
did a lot of stuff.
Lots of goodies.
Another longy one. Yeah.
As always,
happy birthday, Severus.
Happy birthday, Severus.
Happy birthday, Severus. And many more to come.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Megs and danpuff, for joining me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And this is Snapecentric, and say goodbye. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
That's the discussion portion of the show. Thanks to Mai Chen and Ms. Adams for letting us read their fics on the podcast. And thanks to danpuff and Megs for talking with me and sharing their stories. We have links for all these on our FicRecs page at snapechatpodcast.com. Next, I speak with the awesome Snape creators, My Witch and Groot, about their story, Happy Birthday. It's a collaborative work which was written and illustrated for Snape Case 2019 on LiveJournal. Let's listen in.
This is Snapecentric. I'm here with Groot.
Hello.
And My Witch.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about this excellent story that they've put together, illustrated story called Happy Birthday. And without further ado, let's get started on talking about it. So how did you all get together on this project?
Oh my God, it was so random, wasn't it, My Witch? It super really was. Yeah, I think the moderator of Snape Case asked me if I would do like a 5-piece thing to close the fest that year. And so I was like, yeah, can I have some help from Groot? And she was like, of course. So I think that's how it came about. Yeah, and we had like no time, remember, because I went back and reread the emails and you like kind of slid into my DMs and you went, hey, you want to do this thing? I was like, hells to the yeah. And then you went, we've got like a week. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I was like, I think it's due on the 26th. Oh no, wait, it's due on the 21st. And we're like, that's fine. Because both of us work really well under pressure. And when we are just like riffing and stuff is when I think our powers combine the best, would you say, My Witch? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think the funniest part about it is that we started into it thinking, oh, this is going to be a comedy because everything we always do together. Oh my God. Yeah, everything we do is a comedy. And we were like, this is going to be so funny. We're going to do this really hilarious thing because each of the categories is a different stage of Snape's life. We'll be like, oh, it'll be so funny. We'll be do like I think we were riffing around and we thought like a same day, I think initially. And then we're like, oh, a birthday, that'd be funny. And like we were riffing about all this hilarious stuff that we were going to do. I was reading the emails going, ha, ha, ha. And then I went away and wrote this thing overnight. And that was the chapter 1. And it was not funny at all. And then I emailed it to My Witch and went, I don't know what happened, but this came out. And you kind of liked it, right? Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. The whole feeling of walking on eggshells that Severus was going through at age 7. It was really tangible. I super dug it. And then I think a really interesting part of when I was going back over our conversations that we were having over email is how that one thing then kind of springboarded a lot of discussion we had to say between us about how we would build on some of the themes we were exploring in that particular first chapter. And I was writing another story at the time, which is now published on AO3 under Time Mutable. Such a great story. And you should, everybody should read it and everybody. leave me kudos and shit. And there was a bit where I'd written about Tobias in that, and I'd really done him in a way that he was like handsome and charismatic and kind of dangerous and obviously quite volatile, because I thought that would be an interesting take. And I'd shared it with My Witch earlier, and then she drew this picture of him in that chapter 1, which kind of set also a lot going in my mind about how he ended up being the type of person he was, why he chose to dress like he did, why he walked like he did, the kind of personality that he put on like a pair of clothes every day that got him through each of the categories later on. Yeah, his dad was a good role model in that regard. Anyway, he used to be a terrifying, scary bastard.
Yes.
And when we were talking over the emails, we were sort of looking to explore, and one of the themes that's going through it is, and I don't know if you've noticed from the pictures, like Severus's relationships with the other people in his life and how he views those relationships and how those people views relationships with him. and how no relationship is ever easy for him. Everything is conditional. Violence and judgment are always around the corner in every single relationship, even the one with Lily. The picture that Moich did of her painting his face with makeup is just another.
Yeah, everything on her terms. Like, you have to behave the way I like to have, or else.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff was useful for him because later on, because he'd spent his life trying to from very young, he had to judge how people were feeling on that particular day, how volatile they were on that day, whether they were a good person on that day, a bad person on that day, whether they were going to be angry or sad. And he learned very quickly to monitor his own behavior in a way that would fit in how people were acting around him. And then you can see how that sort of bled through the whole thing until even with those pictures that Irish drew of Dumbledore, giving him the stupid friggin' lemon sherbet, or even then reaching out of the portrait. Like, no one's ever truly his friend, but then again, no one's ever truly his enemy in a way. It's really... Anyway, those are the kind of stuff we were thinking about when we were writing it.
That's great. How did you choose his ages for the chapters?
I made him older in the first one. Do you remember that, my witch? But then, he was 9. But Toodaloo, who is another friend of ours who writes amazing stuff as well, and also my witch has done some great stuff with her, she was at my beta and she read it and was like, hey, he seems too old for 9. So we dropped it to 7. And then 13 seemed, I think we were discussing, my witch and I were like, 13's a real age when you hasn't fought with Lily yet, but he's been at school long enough. And I also had to pick a time when Lucius was still at the school.
The categories in Snape case are, every 10 years of his life, every decade. And I think we went back and forth a little bit on his 20s and ended up on 21 because it was close to right after Lily was killed.
Like 2.5 months, I think we'd figured it out.
Yeah. So he's in a really bad place. And then the 30s, I think we chose his year as the headmaster because that was horrific.
Yeah, that one would have to be pretty specific as to where he was at that time. And it does such a wonderful job of portraying that.
Like sort of angst. And I think disappointment and rage and sadness and emptiness, kind of stuff.
And just wonderfully angsty.
Also like the fun of like bringing back Tobias in that chapter where he catches a glimpse of his reflection and he sees his father and he's like, oh God, I have turned into that monster. I mean, by necessity also, but it's a really hard moment for him. Oh
yes. Yeah, it is a very powerful moment. Okay. The style that you use on the illustrations reminds me kind of illustrations that I saw in books as a youth.
Yeah, I can see that totally. It wasn't a conscious decision, but I think it might have something to do with just how difficult it was to print things back then. Everything now is computer and you can resize and do whatever you like, but that was all done by actual human beings, and the choices of colors were very limited because of how the printing process worked. And I did use a limited palette and also I used that really splotchy brush just because I literally didn't have time to do fancy drawings. And I knew I could do them quickly this way and everybody would be like, oh, this is the style. So I think that might be part of why that has kind of a retro look to it.
Yeah, it's really, really neat.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was quite blue, the first chapter, wasn't there? It was kind of muted and blue because it was winter and that was my memory. And then there was that splash of colour with his dad and all in the black with the jaunty sway of his hips. And then right to the end, it was quite dark in the hallway when he's looking at himself in the mirror. And then it's very bright, the last one, right? The last chapter, which is...
Yeah. Yes, it really shows kind of the change, I think, that he's gone through. 7-year-old Severus is there with his dad, who is just gorgeous.
He is quite fine, quite bangable. I mean, he's horrific, let's be honest. So I spent a lot of time when I was young sort of doing teacher's aid work for children who were not able to live at home because of emotional and physical abuse. And what always struck me was that no matter how horrible their parents were, if they had cigarette burns on their arms, like scars and stuff, parents had either mental health issues or drug abuse issues, or just people that had babies that maybe shouldn't have had babies. They loved their parents. They loved them so much, and they just wanted to be with them no matter, because that's all they knew. And they were so young, they just loved them anyway. And a lot of the time when people write kind of like Snape as a kid, the parents were always like either really good or really, like his mum's either perfect or like, Madonna or like or type thing. She's either really awful or really great, and Tobias is always really awful. And I thought, except in Ink's themes, where it was interesting. I think I wanted to put something where it kind of gave an insight into like a good day in a family that is not always a good day, so that while you read it and you were like, this is a really fun time he's having, but that you were always thinking, well, this is going to end really badly, but you were never quite sure whether it was going to be good or bad. And just so you had that feeling like little sort of 7-year-old Snape did in that, of that things are volatile and can change at any moment, and nothing should be taken. Happiness is not taken for granted.
Oh, for sure. There is just the feeling of anxiety reading through that is, walking on eggshells. And he's so into reading people. I think you mentioned that before, but he reads his parents.
Yeah. It's become like it's a protection measure that he learns really young. And Moritz and I discussed this over email. It's a protection measure that he learned to survive his parents, which then later we talked to in the other chapters, where he can read Lily, he can read the fact that he knows he can't walk from his dorm to the Slytherin common room. He knows the boys will be waiting for him. He knows that when Voldemort's Voldemort and when he's Riddle, he knows how to behave in those situations to keep himself safe. But then there's other times where, because of his own self-esteem and his own desperate need to belong, he believes people when he perhaps shouldn't. And that's like, I think, the Malfoy examples, like Lucius giving him the pin and later giving him the clothes and stuff like that. So even as the reader, you're supposed to have a feeling of like that first reaction of like, well, Lucius is a better friend than any of them. I think we said that. I think someone made a comment like that on one of them, like, Lucius is a far better friend, or he's better than Albus or whatever. And you're like, well, none of them are good. They're all horrible, and using him as a tool.
It was really great too to like have Groot's words to draw to, like in the first chapter, that walking on eggshells feeling that Severus had. I tried to put into the drawings, even as he's looking like adoringly up at his dad, particularly in the fish and chip shop, where his dad looks like he could turn on a dime and just put that cigarette out on him.
Oh my God, he looks so angry in that picture.
Yes.
And so, I don't know, I was just trying to keep that going, that whole, God, everything is such a nightmare for this poor kid.
And he looks so sweet in it, right? And I think that's like that. I found that really good, how you, as the years went on, your pictures kind of were like he was this innocent little kid, and then he's looking a bit, especially at the end of 13, he's looking up at Lucius and kind of looks a bit like overwhelmed and stuff. But then even to that look on his face when he's holding Draco in his lap, which is confused and thinking about Lily and Harry, and then right to the end when near the end, he kind of makes that, he finds out about Sirius being innocent and then decides not to share that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting choice because, well, that's probably my headcanon, that he didn't know when he went to the Shrieking Shack and, found Sirius there.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he just doesn't know, which is kind of, yeah.
It's, I think, one of the things that Moritz and I have talked about with other stories, because we were kind of discuss a lot of other people's fics, and she's like wrecked me heaps of awesome stuff to read, is I like a character, like we like a Snape that's not actually good person. And that's, I think, what makes, I don't know if JKR just accidentally wrote him like that or actually purposely did, is like rereading it, Snape makes a lot of choices that are selfish or awful and that type of stuff. And I wanted to put one in, which was like, it wasn't, that was something pure selfishness just for himself, as a petty revenge thing. Like if that's what you get, you messed with me as a kid, now I'm not going to help you. It is within my power to help you, but I won't.
Yeah. Well, after 7 years of torture, it's certainly understandable.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I would walk across the street to help the people who bullied me when I was a kid.
Exactly. I mean, I'd wave at them and say like, I'm sorry you're in a car accident.
Sorry you're in prison now. Whoops.
I see your next question is something we discussed earlier about the contrast between Lucius and Dumbledore handling the birthday. Yeah, that's another conscious choice. Yeah. We wanted people to read Lucius is as a different character too. Hence, and that picture of Draco on Snape's lap, which is a awesome picture. Even though my witch is like, oh my god, I hate drawing babies.
I'm over it now.
You've drawn so many MPreg stories.
You have no idea.
Oh my god. But like another one of those things, like with his parents, it's like if you sort of read it, you go, they love him. Do they love him or do they not? And Lucius is a weird one too. I kind of wanted the people to read it, and I think the pictures that my witch has drawn as well. It's not clear if they're really friends or not, right? Because it appears they are, but yet.
Yeah, I feel like Severus is always going to be on the outside, even if both of them thought they were friends. He would still not feel like he was really in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even know. He still didn't. He doesn't know his secret about Lily or even anything like that. Doesn't know, but still praises him as well. Gives him like the robes. He's obviously fond enough of Draco, but all the while Snape's sitting there collecting information to report to Dumbledore. So
yeah, he almost sounds callous about about Draco and Lucius.
Yeah, when he reported back and he said his greatest weakness is his family. Like, so he's just gone. He sat there with the baby on his lap and thought about how precious babies are and precious children are to their parents, and has given that to Dumbledore as a leverage over Lucius. I don't know. I just like to write in, because I think as my wish and I have discussed, and that comes later when she draws him as quite harsh in that second last one, is that in order to do what he did, you have to be a very particular compartmentalized type of person who can be harsh and who can make those clinical sociopathic type decisions about how people's secrets can be used against them.
Right.
Yeah, everything in his life like molded him into the exact person who could do that job that he had.
Yeah.
You had asked me too in the questions about Dumbledore's hair.
Oh my god.
Basically, he's very influenced by Flock of Seagulls and what was that TV show with Don Johnson where they
Miami
would all
Vice?
Yeah, Miami Vice. And so he's got his Miami Vice robes on. And that was
Oh my god, I screamed. But you had a first version. You had a first version of Snape's outfit in that as well. That was so 80s.
Right.
Like I cried. Like I nearly cried of laughter when I first saw it.
It was he was wearing the leather outfit from Thriller, wasn't it?
It was so funny.
But I wanted him to kind of be like molding into his Tobias sort of side, and so giving him kind of that Tobias look there, I thought we ultimately decided was probably a better choice.
Mm-hmm. Kind of working into his uniform that he wears after that. So, okay. I still think Sev looks like Alice Cooper in chapter 2.
Oh, he is. Yeah, it reminds me a bit of Alice Cooper in chapter 2 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was something that was definitely on my mind when I was doing it. I wanted him to have a very extreme sort of gothy look, because I didn't think Lily would do anything by halves in that department. She got him in the makeup room.
and I remember we were talking about, because like you really fairly and squarely hit that 70s, so she would paint him like a 70s glam rock typey Alice Cooper type, and then the outfits that you had. Oh my god, the bell bottoms, that was so horrific. Oh, they looked so smarmy and awful. I hated them in that picture.
Yeah,
they were definitely period. Though,
yeah,
the bell bottoms. I remember those.
I did not have to Google that.
Yeah.
those slacks with the seam down the front, so they're permanently pressed.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 13-year-old book, the worst.
They are horrific.
Yeah. So Lily is making him over, which I guess is why she was putting makeup on him. But does it signify their real relationship, the dynamic?
Oh, 100%. As my witch said before, like she wants to do it, so he just does it. So relationships are not like symbiotic give and take things. Relationships are you mold yourself to what the other person wants, and then just try as hard as you can not to piss him off.
I think her reaction would be similar to Tobias, were he to like say, no, I don't want to do this. No, Lily, I don't want to do this. She's not going to be like, oh, okay, that's cool. She's going to be horrible to him. And he knows that. So he's like, yeah, feather my hair like David Cassidy. That's fine.
And then Malfoy kind of seems like
he's shining a light on him.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Which is,
he's recruiting him. He's grooming him for the Death Eaters. So this is how it starts, right? He says, we've recognized how good you are, and here's a little thing. And he knows that obviously it would be so obvious that he was poor and lonely, and that's exactly the type of kid that you look for.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like Tobias and Lily and Malfoy are all very attractive people.
Yeah.
And having them, shining their reflected glory and light down on him, I'm sure he feels, you know what I mean? Like it's a good feeling.
Oh, yeah.
He wants that, the kind of like, I'm with the most gorgeous blonde boy in school right now.
Yeah.
He just gave me a cool present.
So, yeah. But yeah, that must have been the first time anybody talked to him that way.
Yeah. And I think the story tried to hint at despite it all, his own beliefs in his skills. So when Lily was going on about how amazing she's at potions, how she's going to be head girl and blah, 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 blah. And he's like knowing, as he knows, that adults say lots of things that aren't true, because he learned that from a very young age, but also he in deep down thinks that he's better than her, but he would never say it. So I think that step of Lucius saying it made him think, oh, hang on.
Yeah, it's really the first kind of like, real you are awesome sort of situation he's been in. Even though, I can imagine him thinking, he's pretty much an adult and I probably shouldn't be believing what he's saying, but I think it's so appealing that he wants to. And
I think that's the start. He's still young. And then as it goes on, and he ended up in all, like, because I think in canon, he was Death Eater for a year, maybe 2. Like not very long, really. So it doesn't take him very long to go like, oh, actually, this isn't great.
Yeah, it's not the right fit. Yeah.
And then again, everything in the story, like one of the questions you asked was the kind of like the bit of him walking in the...
Oh, right. In chapter 4.
In the Forbidden Forest, which is his dissociation, which he learned when he was a kid. Because when his father would abuse him, he would dissociate from the situation. And sometimes he would dissociate and imagine he was at Lily's place. And then when he went into Hogwarts, he then would dissociate and imagine he was back at Hogwarts rather than at home, until that Hogwarts became a place which he didn't want to be either. And so when something really bad happens, he just lets his mind go away. And that was my witch kind of capturing that ability that he had to dissociate himself from a really horrific situation to something. And I was like, and when she drew that picture, I was like, oh my God, that's so perfect. It was this freedom, peace kind of thing, which was at odds with the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So all these things kind of that, as my witch said earlier, that he developed through his horrific life.
It just reminded me too of like in the very first chapter where he kind of picks up that saying something to the lady in the chip shop might work out in his favor, and his father complimenting him on that skill, making him want to get better at it. And
his natural legitimacy or whatever.
Yeah, I just like the way that's threaded throughout the story.
Yeah.
Beautifully done.
Well.
Well, it is crude after all.
Fan's self. With all the wads of cash we get from our fanon writings. Wait a minute. I can't buy a car with kudos. It's all right. We do it for the love. The love and the lols.
Kudos bucks.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you really captured, my wish, as I said earlier, which was like the full circle of him kind of ending up having to embrace, like, and even when he discusses it in that sort of chapter 4 or whatever it is, when he becomes his father, because he's ended up having to find deep down that awful, violent, cold part of himself that was built a long time ago when he idolized his father. He has to use that persona to survive that year, but yet being confronted by that, I think, especially in the presence of a child that would have reminded him of himself as a child, was confronting.
Yeah, that is such a powerful moment.
And it's interesting too, because like as a reader, you're kind of in that walking on eggshells point of view again, because even though we know the Severus from the story, we don't know what he's going to do to that boy. I mean, like, because he has like switched into monster mode, and I don't know, there's just so much great tension throughout the whole thing.
Which is like we said before, very odd for us, because we're usually about like fun and laughing. So this came from a really, I don't know.
This is brewing underneath everything.
Yeah, maybe. I got a lot. Yeah, we got a lot happening. We got a lot of stuff to get through in therapy, I think, mate. Yeah, I don't know. I like it because so many people are seen as one-dimensional, and even when in the fandoms people like fight about the Marauders were great, the Marauders were horrible, Snape was great, Snape was horrible, Lily was great, Lily was horrible,
right,
et cetera. And then I think it's good to take a journey through where people are built by their own experiences, just driven by their own needs and desires and stuff like that. So I think, like what Snape even wants, we hope one of the threads through it is, I guess, acceptance and love, right? And that's the bird within him that he wants. And it wants to be free and have that kind of be seen, have his authentic self seen and appreciated. But
that makes me think too, like I think in the story you compared his love for his father like that golden bird.
Yeah.
Compared his love for his mother like a warm bath.
Yeah.
And so in the last chapter when he gets into the ocean and it's like a warm bath, and then at the end when the bird starts to sing again.
Oh my God, it's true.
Well done.
I'm only laughing because I was like, man, we put a lot of stuff together in like a week.
Right.
Oh, but yeah, there is so much. And also in chapter 4, you talk about Voldemort and how he was Tom Riddle, his monster self is Voldemort.
Yeah.
And then also Tobias and Severus also having their selves and their monster personas. Yeah. That is so interesting.
Yeah. I really wanted, and I think even which prompted, I think, that discussion way back when I was rereading our emails between each other, kind of to reference that again later, about how there is not just duality to ourselves, but we are people in different contexts and stuff like that. And, Ray finds what did a great job was the no-nose Voldy, but at the end of the day, somebody has to be an interesting, charismatic person for them to follow. Like nobody just turns up to someone who's like, by the way, I just want to murder everyone. Like everyone's like, yeah, that sounds great. Like there has to be I mean, maybe.
Yes.
Like, but it wouldn't be like that many. Like it certainly wouldn't be somebody like Lucius who craves more than just murdering random people. Like he craves power. He wants to be seen and valued and to be the best and that type of stuff. So he wouldn't be drawn in by somebody just wanting to just stab randos or kill randos, kill a few muggles. He would be drawn to beauty and power. I'm just like, I
don't know if it's canon, but I always have seen Tom Riddle as somebody who could like see what it is the people he's speaking to want most and then play off of that. Like, oh, Severus, you want recognition and power. And in my head canon, he's the one who, helps him get his potions mastery, not someone from the school, because he knows that would make Severus happy and feel good about himself and beholden to him and so forth. I just feel like Tom Riddle's a great manipulator and could definitely probably even talk me into joining the Death Eaters. You could meet Severus Snape.
Yeah.
I'd be like, really? Hello. And you get this cool mask. I'm like, oh, I'm sold.
Hello.
You do have to murder a lot of people. Oh, okay. Well, but I get a mask.
And robes.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm sold. Yeah. But I think, I don't know, one of the things we hoped came through was that Dumbledore himself has duality too, right?
Oh, yes.
Like he's like, how are you going? Basically report back. And then he's like, oh, it's my birthday. He's like, oh, yeah, you go. Happy birthday, whatever.
A little pocket lint on it, don't mind it.
Yeah. And then in chapter 4, which you show Dumbledore's portrait as like he's trying to reach out.
Oh my God, I cried. Oh my God.
Comfort Severus.
Yeah, that was certainly my intention. It's funny because a couple of people in the comments were like, is he laughing? And I'm like, I know he's a jerk, but I don't see him as laughing.
No.
But yeah, I feel like, particularly after he's a portrait, Dumbledore more clearly sees just what exactly he's put this guy through. And yeah, there's nothing about it that's easy. And I think he'd be pretty inhuman to not feel pretty bad about it.
And I think what the other thing that My Witch did is, so the first 4 chapters at the end, the last picture is always somebody putting their hand on his shoulder.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
So his father's putting his hand on his shoulder at the chippy, then it's Lucius putting his hand on his shoulder, and then it's Dumbledore's portrait. Oh no, who is it? Yeah.
Yeah, Dumbledore.
And it's Dumbledore, and then the Dumbledore's portrait. Then at the end, they're just shagging in a hammock. So there's a whole lot of hands on a lot of stuff.
uh-huh.
Started with the shoulder.
So yes, we get to chapter 5, and he's at age 50.
Yeah.
Is the loud clothing that he's kind of put into, is that like in contrast to the black uniform that he wears?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a visual representation of how different his life is, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He can,
Right.
He wakes up in a much nicer bed than in the first picture, wearing an absolutely ridiculous t-shirt, and
which he made up, My Witch, if I remember correctly. I'd put something else and you changed it to that, and I was like, oh my god, that's far superior. I must now pretend I made that up.
Yeah, I mean, and you can even kind of tell in his face that he's like, I'm annoyed, but also really happy inside.
Yeah. And when we first were planning out the years, My Witch was like, wouldn't it be great if the last one, we never actually name the person or the gender?
Yes.
So everyone can put whoever they want in. And I remember having this discussion with Tulu, when I sent her a chapter, like I'd tried with theys and theirs and that type of stuff. And she's like amazing on grammar. She was like, I can see what you're trying to do here. It's kind of grammatically a bit wild. It doesn't follow a lot of rules. So she made a few suggestions, but I said, no, that's how we want it. Like I don't want to. We definitely want it to be, and you can see My Witch even drew the last picture in a way that you still really can't say yeah or no.
That is such a wonderful way to end it.
Everyone can just ship their own ship, man.
Yes.
No ship judgment here.
Absolutely not.
Except it's maybe
my ship is anything that Severus is involved in. Whatever he wants to do, I want to read about it. So.
Yeah.
Yes, me too. Okay. Well, I didn't go through the questions the way I wrote them, but
sorry.
No, that's okay. What I'm wondering is if there's anything else that we should have covered.
Well, the one we didn't, I don't know if you meant for this particular story or just in general, was how My Witch and I actually came to start collaborating at all.
Oh, yes.
Which I found that as well way back in was it 2017?
I think so, yeah.
So we're obsessed with this amazing, and I think you actually interviewed Zigodanus for ink stains, and we're obsessed with that. Like, we're obsessed with it. And we're in the comments, and I think I was just on my usual fucking shit and just writing all these stupid things about what should have happened in Harry Potter or something like that. And then we were just riffing, and then
maybe we should take this out of the comments of a very serious, beautiful story and take it to like a more private place where we can be idiots in peace.
yeah, exactly. And then she's like, oh, like, do you want to work on something funny? So that's when we started to work on Redux, which is just a ridiculous take on the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Oh no, what's it called here? Sorcerer's Stone. Yeah. But anyway, and I guess we've just kind of like hung around ever since, right?
Yeah, we've done some fun things together. More coming up.
Oh my God, we've done some fun things together. Oh my God, there is a good one coming up.
Do you want to tell us about it?
It's No More Angst. Well, we can't, man. It's another fest one. So
yeah, it'll be I think posted towards the end of January or something in Snape case, but watch for it.
Watch for it.
We're very full of ourselves and we think it's hilarious.
Okay.
I think you'll find we're honest and great critics.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can shoot us a link when it does come out, and that way the listener will know where to go.
Definitely.
We would say like and subscribe, guys.
Well, that's really the best way, is to subscribe to your favorite authors and artists.
Truth.
I mean, that's how I found Ink Stains, was following you, My Witch. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
That is cool.
And that's such an amazing story.
Oh my God, it's the best. It's disgustingly good. It makes me sick. It's so good.
I always want to read the chapter with a notepad so that I can actually really remember and think about like what she's doing there, because she's such an incredible writer. and nothing is thrown in there without a lot of intent. Yeah, it's amazing.
I know. And it's, yeah. And then you read the comments and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
I used to have such a complex about it because I don't have a background in literature, and, and I felt like I was just making really inane comments, but I don't know. She's taught me a lot.
There is nothing but love and acceptance in the Inkstains Book Club comment section.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, writers and artists too love to get a comment, even if it's just all like, ooh, I like that. I don't think everything has to be broken down analytically or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just really nice.
No.
Me in particular, getting into fandom drawing has been just literally life-changing, because I am a professional artist and have been for like 30 years. And there's nowhere close to the sort of acceptance and appreciation that you get in fandom. At work, it's always like, change this and these other 16,000 things. Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. And never a thank you, this is great. So when I fell into fandom, I was just like, oh my God, this is like the greatest place ever. And the comments are so kind, and it really buoyed me up. And for the first time in like 15 years or so, I was finding myself drawing for fun, and I'm still drawing for fun, and it's really been huge for me. So thank you, everyone.
Well, I don't know. I guess I feel privileged that I get to see your stuff for free, because it's so amazing, right?
There is a bill coming.
I mean, that's fine. And I shall pay it in fic.
Oh, perfect. I like that.
That's the only thing I like.
Well, thank you for joining me again, Groot.
No problemo.
And My Witch.
My pleasure.
And we will link to this amazing story that you really need to check out. We'll be talking again soon, I hope.
Awesome.
Nothing will be as angsty as this story, I can promise you.
There's nothing wrong with angst, It's got its place.
I know, but I love angsty, but I'm so rarely write it myself.
Well, it did end with a big fat happy ever after, so.
Oh, it sure did.
Well, then that's how I live my life, man. Well, thank you very much for inviting us to talk about this story and art. It was beautiful. It flashed me back. It was a really fun one that we did.
That's great.
Together.
Yeah. It's been 3 years, is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this one was 2019. It was 2019. Yeah.
Yeah, like January. Lies.
Again, thank you for joining me, and we'll talk soon, I hope. So.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, listeners.
I had a great time talking with My Witch and Groot, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Go to our website and see selected images from Happy Birthday. Better yet, follow the link to the story itself on AO3. Go to our FicRecs page to find links to all the stories from this show, snapechatpodcast.com. Thanks to Nix and Maria for their behind-the-scenes help. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Tumblr and Twitter, email us, or leave a voicemail. Be sure to check out Care of Magical Shippers podcast. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay snarky.